yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Hi, I'm Ed Salick. The show is in honor of it's programming that is designed for veterans, their families, and the general public, of course. But today we have a very special show. We have some gentlemen from District Attorney Mike McMahon's office, and he's asked them to come down to us and to explain a program that they are endeavoring into, and it's something that we here at in honor of are very, very happy about. Okay, with us is Paul Capofari,
I'm the Chief Assistant District Attorney, yep.
Richie Abadi.
Yes, I'm one of the detective investigators.
Okay. And of course, Colonel Paul Dietrich, co-host for all of the shows. Paul, suppose you open up and tell us what we're talking about today.
What we're going to be talking about today is actually one of the chief legislative objectives for the Veterans of Foreign Wars for the state of New York, and that is to get veterans courts in each of the boroughs. A number of the counties actually have veterans courts already. I believe Richmond is the last within New York City to be getting their veterans court. But basically, this is an alternative justice system aimed primarily towards veterans and helping them with the issues that they have, some caused by service and issues that they've gotten into in private life. I'm aware of a number of other counties within the state. I know of the Albany County, and they have a very, very low recidivism rate, and that is one of the objectives. If we can treat these veterans outside of the regular court systems and get them back into productive life, that is a very good objective for all veterans and for the rest of society. And going down on that, could you give us a little bit about what's going on, when we can expect it? And
Sure, we're very excited at the DA's office, and District Attorney McMahon is very proud to announce that we're going to be starting a veterans court here on Staten Island. We'll have our grand opening on November 9th. We're doing the planning process right now, which is involved. Our judge is going to be Judge Rooney, who was in the Army in the 60s down at Fort Bragg. Veterans Court is essentially a sentencing court that, as an alternative to incarceration or the other sentencing options that there are, we ask the veteran to undergo treatment, perhaps anger management, alcohol treatment, drug treatment, other programs that are offered by the Veterans Administration, and we avoid incarceration. And as you've already stated, the recidivism rate of the veterans who receive this treatment is very, very low. So Veterans Court is exactly that, a sentencing court.
okay. I want to make this clear that the veteran is not getting a buy for his behavior. This is not a you're getting off free. It is an alternative type of justice, more correctly suited to the veterans and suited to getting them help to cause to cure the underlying problems which contributed towards the poor behavior.
Well, as I said, it's a sentencing court, so you have to plead guilty in order to get into the court, but it's certainly not the only alternative court that we have. We have a mental health court, If your crime is related to your mental history, you could get into mental health court. We have drug treatment court, which is very extensive here and very helpful, where addicts or people who are addicted to drugs go into treatment instead of going to jail. Both of those courts are very successful. This is another court that helps to provide some kind of treatment to the veteran that they've earned
Yes.
through their service, and that is available through the Veterans Administration. A couple of other aspects of Veterans Court. We provide a mentor. We're going to be looking for mentors. District Attorney McMahon is going to address the veterans on Staten Island on September 21st at 7 o'clock at Labette Post. He'll inform the veterans about the court and also ask for volunteers. Maybe that's not the right group to ask for volunteers, but we're going to need mentors
Yes.
In the court. And so each veteran who appears in front of Judge Rooney will be assigned a mentor, and that'll be somebody who provides some encouragement, provides some guidance, maybe reminds the defendant, veteran about appointments, and smooths things out for him.
Yes.
I think it's very important to note, too, the commitment that we have from the court system. The court system is going to hire a social worker who will be the coordinator of this court. That social worker will work with the VA and coordinate and report directly to the judge in the court. This is a major step because, anytime you hire somebody in the government, that's a big deal to add that slot. And I know District Attorney McMahon and all of us involved in the Veterans Court are really very appreciative of that.
Yes. And I think it's important that you've noted that the judge involved here is also a veteran. In fact, he was in the 18th Airborne Corps, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we should mention at this point that all of the gentlemen here, we have
Yes.
a retired colonel, retired major,
Another
and
retired
another retired colonel.
We have a number of veterans in the District Attorney's office. Why don't you introduce yourself, Rich?
Richard Abadi. I was in the 101 Cav here on Staten Island, National Guard unit.
We also, in the District Attorney's office, have Matt Muscarella. He was in the Army with the helicopters. He's a part of our detective squad. Also working for the District Attorney, our Chief of Information Technology, Chief of IT, Rob Lenza, was in the Navy. Kathy Fitzpatrick, who is the paralegal for our narcotics unit, was in the Air Force for quite a number of years. Richie, I got Richie on the list here. We have Matthew Hayes from our office, who's actually in the National Guard right now, on loan to us from the National Guard to help with the drug prosecutions. And we have an Army captain, he's in the reserves right now, is one of the assistant district attorneys. That's Dan Lewis. And he's going to be the district attorney who'll be standing on the cases for District Attorney McMahon in front of Judge Rooney.
Yes.
So there's a veteran's presence in the District Attorney's office. We're really proud of them, proud of their service, and really appreciate their help.
Absolutely.
Okay. I just point out again, though, that we have now veterans taking care of veterans, which is, to me, very important. Those of us that have served understand what that's like and understand how that can have negative impacts on your future life. And this is one way to try to abate some of those negative impacts and, again, come out with a productive citizen. And very happy to hear this.
Hypothetically, a veteran gets himself into trouble. How does he end up into the Veterans Court?
Well, there's a couple of aspects. Obviously, they get arrested, and then they're brought in front of the court for arraignment. and either through the form they fill out or through their defense counsel identify themselves as a veteran, and then work with myself or Dan Lewis to figure out, is this connected to any thing that happened in the service? Is this connected to anything that we can provide treatment for? Can we have them screened by the Veterans Administration? And then we would work out a plea deal, because this is a sentencing court, that instead of incarceration, your sentence will be some kind of treatment or some kind of probation where you're taking advantage of what the Veterans Administration has to offer. So this is how somebody would get into Veterans Court. And when you say veterans treating veterans, one of the anomalies is that a lot of veterans don't identify themselves as veterans when they're arrested, either because they're embarrassed or because they think they're undeserving. We want to encourage that, look, you've served your country, you volunteered, you went in to the military. This is nothing that you haven't earned. So we encourage veterans to, if they have a problem and it results in them getting arrested, they should identify themselves as a veteran, talk to their defense counsel about the possibility of getting treatment instead of incarceration, and hopefully we'll have them in Veterans Court. We really don't have any idea what our caseload is going to be.
Are there any guidelines as to what type of crime qualifies or disqualifies them from getting to the court? Hypothetically, again, a violent crime or a non-violent crime? How?
You know, under the guidance of District Attorney McMahon, we've decided that we're not going to categorically keep any particular crime out of Veterans Court, except, and I think this is understandable, if there's a victim involved, we will discuss this plea bargain and this treatment with the victim. It's difficult to see someone involved in a violent crime or a robbery or a serious assault being considered for Veterans Court. And we would have to take into account the seriousness of the offense, the wishes of the victim. But we're not going to categorically eliminate any victim crime.
That's a great approach.
We want to do those cases on a case-by-case basis. We already have a case, and it involves domestic violence. However, the victim in that case, the woman, has asked that we get him involved with the Veterans Administration to help with his alcoholism, to help with anger management, and he's going to be put into Veterans Court with the victim's encouragement.
Yes.
So that his sentence can take these problems into account.
Okay. You have a point in the Veterans Administration that you would go to for
Absolutely.
guidance?
The office, the Veterans Administration office here on Staten Island, and of course, you know, the city has a commissioner of Veterans Affairs.
She's been on the show, by the way.
Okay, and she's been very, very instrumental and a part of the process of planning for this to make sure that these, it's really get the resources to help the veteran. Something happened here that he or she committed a crime. And obviously the district attorney has to do something about people who commit crimes, but you've already mentioned recidivism. That's certainly a goal to prevent crimes in the future. And then to fit the punishment to not just the crime, but the person. And if the person has earned some veterans benefits that could help them in the future, we want them to take advantage of it. You mentioned about veterans courts within the state.
Yes. In
New York City, the other boroughs have veterans courts, but it was not that long ago that District Attorney McMahon and myself went to the opening of the Manhattan Veterans Court. And then as soon as that happened, all of the planners and the city commissioner came to Staten Island, and we began running with our court. having a veteran who already is what we call the upfront judge, Judge Rooney, really helps the process. He's been an integral part of planning this and has been thinking about it and really wants to do this.
I think the efforts that are being made are great, and they're certainly out there to enhance a veteran's life. And if a veteran happens to fall off the track and end up doing the wrong things, we can get him back on track and we can fix it, and through the court system. And what better way to do it than that? Yeah.
You know, we've already recognized within the court system the tremendous problem we're having here on Staten Island with the heroin epidemic.
Yes.
And have seen that the judicial and law enforcement resources are better aimed at the dealers and to take those that are addicted of drugs and try to offer them treatment, try to get them into some kind of treatment. And unfortunately, this heroin epidemic covers the whole spectrum. And we all know that because it's happened within our own families, our own communities, including the veterans community.
Sure. Right.
And there are veterans who are addicted to drugs. There are veterans who are addicted to alcohol. And if they're willing to get into some kind of treatment, we're willing to work with them.
That's great.
You mentioned that you were looking for mentors and that you were going to ask veterans at the Libetti Post. By the way, the Libetti Post address is 390 Highland Boulevard. It's at 7 p.m. on the night of the 21st. This is another venue that you could ask for volunteers, because you're not only going to have veterans looking at this show, but you're going to have non-veterans. And this would be a perfect opportunity. Is there a phone number, an email contact that somebody that would like to volunteer as a mentor?
I would say the best thing to do is to call me. I'm a veteran. In fact, I'm a retired lieutenant colonel, finished my 21 years in the Army, and then joined the district attorney's office under Bill Murphy.
Okay.
So 718-556-7076. Ask for Paul. You don't have to ask for Colonel Capofari. You can ask for Paul, and we really need the mentors. You were asking me earlier, what am I volunteering for?
Yeah.
Well, it could amount to a couple of hours a week. As I said, I don't know what the caseload is going to be. Right now, we think we'll have 5 cases a week on Thursdays, probably at around noon. You would stand with the meet the defendant, get to know him or her, and then provide whatever services, liaison, mentoring that you could. You know, eventually, or ultimately, the defendant is the one who committed the crime.
Yep.
It's the defendant who has to resolve to correct the problem they have. And you can mentor, you can try to guide, you can help, but we're looking for that veteran to fulfill his mission. His mission here is taking care of himself.
Absolutely. Well, again, I offer to mentor here on Staten Island for this particular service. I think this is a very worthy goal. As I mentioned, we're trying to get this throughout the state. We were looking at one of the options would be to get legislation in place that required it. As I mentioned, I think it's much better that we don't have the legislation and we're deciding to do it anyway because it seems to be the right course of action. I may be coming back to you and asking for assistance in getting some of the other counties throughout the state involved in this also, because we have veterans throughout the state of New York and there are crimes throughout the state of New York. Obviously, this is something that's needed. I point out again, the recidivism rates that I've heard are extremely low, because by the time the veteran's gotten to this point of his life, he pretty much has decided either he's going off the deep end or he's getting help. and here's help is being offered to him. We've heard a lot of situations where veterans haven't gotten help. Here's a helping hand. The opportunity's here. If you're out there, you've got to take advantage of it and get yourself into the programs you need to get straight, get your life back online.
And I think a lot of veterans have said, oh, I never been to the VA, oh, I don't know if I'm eligible, oh, I don't know what they have available. This is an opportunity that we can, as I said, the court's going to have a coordinator, the individual defendant will have a mentor, they'll have a defense counsel that can reach out to those of us in the DA's office that can help them. So it's important to identify yourself as a veteran, or if you know a friend of yours is a veteran who has a criminal case, encourage that veteran to take advantage of this
Yes.
court. You know, when you talk about opening the court or how do we get going, I was very involved in the mental health court when we started that. And the chief judge at that time was Phil Minardo, and he got behind the program. District Attorney Donovan at that time went to see him. He got behind the program. We got the court. Here, we all know that District Attorney McMahon ran for office with one of his promises being we would get a veterans court here on Staten Island. And from the first thing that he did, hiring a veteran as his chief assistant, and pushing the court system for this. And then Judge Rooney, being a veteran, being very interested in it, he called his friend, Judge Brennan,
Yes.
who's a Staten Islander, who is a judge in Brooklyn, a Vietnam veteran.
Yes.
And Judge Brennan runs the misdemeanor part and the probation part of the Brooklyn
Yes.
Veterans Court. And he has met with District Attorney McMahon, has come over here to Staten Island. Very integral, very encouraging to us to get the Veterans Court on Staten Island. So the veterans who are judges, and we have a lot of them on Staten Island, have all encouraged and asked the court system to do this. So insofar as what should we do in other counties, I would say go to your local district attorney, have that person call Michael McMahon, and District Attorney McMahon will encourage them to form a veterans court, and then figure out what veterans are on your court right now,
Yep.
and urge them to help with the court.
Let me ask you now, if someone's a veteran but never got involved with the VA, and there are a number of them out there that never
Many,
did, okay.
yes.
Now he ends up in a system, he's still eligible for help through the VA.
Absolutely. And what the advantage of having the court coordinator and the mentor and the VA very interested is that one of the first things that they'll do is interview the veteran, figure out what are they eligible for. They've actually told us that they will try to make veterans eligible for programs if they're not otherwise eligible in order to help them
Okay.
avoid incarceration and get the help
Right.
they need to solve the problem that caused their crime in the first place.
All right, and there are a group of veterans who've been time blocked out of the VA. Now, they're on in years by now. I imagine we're talking about guys in their 80s almost. Am I right, Paul?
There's some that are time blocked. There's others that are blocked out because of their incomes. For example, if I go to the VA, what's going to happen with me is my medical insurance has to reimburse the VA because they are based on your income. So there's many different ins and outs. It's good that you have somebody advocating for you. And the advocate in this case is the court system trying to get the veteran into the correct program to get them straight.
I could say, though, that I haven't addressed that problem, and that's something I'm going to take away and try to figure out. But in the drug treatment area, when we've had defendants who, because of insurance, can't get into this program or that program, the coordinators are very good in working with them to get them eligible and not allow, I don't want to say anything bad about insurance companies, or maybe I do.
You can.
But
Bureaucracy.
believe me.
okay, the bureaucracy
Yeah.
shouldn't stand in the way. And as you said, with the court coordinator and the mentor and the very willingness of the VA supports this 1,000%, more than 1,000%. And they've been very, very encouraging, and they want to
That's very
help us do that.
encouraging,
It
yes.
is.
I know that most of the veteran service organizations have service officers, and their job is to help the veterans get whatever benefits they need. Does the district attorney's office have any link with them, maybe for even referrals? I know for a fact that some of the VSOs from the Legion and from the VFW have had people come to them that they have a case, a legal case, and there's not a lot of places for them to go with that type of situation. I'm suggesting that maybe there's a referral system needed between the VSOs, which are full-time service providers, or assistants, shall we say, and the court office. And I can make that happen with your office for here in Richmond County. I'll get you the contacts, and if they have a person that, hey, they've somehow got themselves into difficulty, this is another route for them to get assistance.
I would encourage them to contact me. We'll link them up with the court coordinator, make sure that they're involved in the court system with whatever happens.
Okay.
Well, we're just about running out of time now, and first of all, on behalf of all of the veterans, I'd like to thank District Attorney
Absolutely.
McMahon and yourself and Richie for your efforts for the veterans. It's a great thing to know that there's people out there that care to help us even when we're in trouble, and very, very meaningful. I want to thank you for coming. I want to invite you to come back anytime we can further discuss what we're talking about today. If there are any changes, anything that you want to add to it, we'd love to have you on a program. We'd love to have you on a program anyway,
Yes.
just in general.
Well, I could say on behalf of District Attorney McMahon, this is something very close to his heart. It's something that, as I said, from day number one as the District Attorney, he's been striving for, and it's something that's going to be accomplished just before Veterans Day. And I invite people to come to the grand opening on November 9th at our new courthouse and meet Richie, myself, the other veterans in the office, and meet District Attorney McMahon as we do the formal opening of our new Veterans Court on Staten Island.
I just want to
Thank
say,
you. We
too,
will
a
be
very
there.
important thing that I've heard here is that not only is this something he wants, but he's put resources behind it. He's gone and hired out people to come into the office and help with these issues. And a lot of times you see these lofty goals, but you don't see the result or the resources behind it. When I was a commander, I used to have a little statement on my desk, and it said, vision without resources is called a mirage.
Okay.
So,
Well, this is not a mirage. This is going to happen.
excellent.
You've been watching in honor of, I want to thank you for watching. I want you to continue to watch for our programs. And as a closing thought, I'd like to say personally that I am proud of my time that I served in the service. I am proud of my country. And it's beyond me how we can pay a football player $19 million to sit down on his rear end when the flag gets raised. And that's annoying to me. God bless.
And to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.